Hello and welcome to Scale Stuff. In this week's video I'm going to be building the Revell 1 to 390 scale Boeing 747. I've never built a passenger jet before and I'm looking forward to seeing how this kit turns out. In the box you get the sprues to make the model, black and white instructions, a sheet of decals to make a Air Canada Boeing 747 and a clear plastic stand to show the model off when it's done. A quick look at the sprues shows that this is going to be a fairly quick model to build. The sprues look okay, but there's a fair bit of flash to clean up. First released in 1995 by Revell, this kit is a re-release of an earlier 1990s Matchbox kit, so it's got a bit of age to it. Nothing about the model is standing out to me as amazing or terrible from just looking at the sprues. I am concerned that seam lines will be tough to clean up on this kit though. Anyway, onto the build. First thing on the menu is the fuselage. The fuselage fit is not the best of fits. I found that cutting off the front locator pin actually gave me a better fit here. If you're building this in a landed position, you will need to add some weight to the nose before gluing the two halves together. As I'm going to be building this kit in a flying position, for me there's no need to worry about this, or any of the landing gear steps, so this is going to be a very fast build. If you want to use a stand that comes with the kit, now is the time to cut the notches out, as cutting the hole out for this is not marked on the instructions. The place to cut is marked on the fuselage, slightly forward of the wing peg location ports. Next up, I'm deviating from the instructions and adding all of the lower flaps to the fuselage. The fit's okay on these bits, but they need a fair bit of cleanup. With the fuselage done, I filled in the gaps around the cockpit glass with green stuff and moved on to painting. I've decided to use rattle can white gloss spray paint to do this bit. As it's a passenger jet, the finished model should have a clean look to it, so hopefully I don't get any runs. I'm spraying this in a few light coats off screen outside to avoid fumigating myself. With that done and drying, it's onto the wings. The wings need some feed ports removing from the inside before they'll go together. This is easy enough to do though with a sharp knife. I'm leaving the sprue attachment nubs on the front of the wings until they're glued together so I can sand them to a smooth finish and avoid getting any notches. With the main wings together, it's onto the engines. The engines are probably the worst part of this kit. Feed ports, iffy fits, and lots of flash to clean up here. Each engine is its own part, so it's best to build them separately and add these as you go. Despite all the flash and feed ports, I'm enjoying building this kit. And I'm not bothered by all this extra cleanup, as it's actually a quite welcome added layer of interest. With the engines done, it's time to add them to the wings. Engines on the wings, I'm propping up the wings into the sides of a box for a quick coat of grey primer. With the grey primer on, I started painting the wings before I added them to the model. I'm using Army Painter plate metal to do the wing edges. Later on I decided this was too dark and gave it a thin coat of plate metal mixed with white. I'm trying to give the wings a subtle metallic look, as this is a very small scale plane, and the wings on the real 747s don't look very metallic, more worn metal than anything. With that on, I painted the centre of the wings with Army Painter Dungeon Grey. I'm not sure why the middle of the wings is a different colour on these planes, but if anyone knows, be sure to let me know down in the comments. Thanks. Now it's time to add the wings to the model and finish off the construction stage of this build. Nice and simple, push-in pieces here. Pay attention to the rear wings, as they're meant to point upwards, though the instructions don't show this well. With the wings on, it's time to add the decals. If you're making one of these at home, trim down the rear tail decal a tiny little bit before applying, by maybe half a millimetre, as it's a little bit too big and doesn't fit onto the tailplane very well. The decals really bring this otherwise plain model to life. With the decals on, it's onto the painting. As pretty much all the painting's done here, it was just a case of doing some very light panel lines. To do this, I added black watered down paint to the model and rubbed most of it off, leaving only a little bit very subtly left in some of the recessed areas just to give the plane a bit of interest. I didn't want to overdo this, as I still wanted the plane to look clean but not spotless. With that done, the last thing I did was clean up any areas I'd overdone the black wash on and paint the engines in a gloss enamel paint before leaving it to dry for a couple of days. And this is the finished model. I don't think this is my best model, but I had a lot of fun building something very much out of my comfort zone. I very much enjoyed the challenge of painting a small scale, clean paint job, and this little jetliner has certainly taught me a few things. In conclusion, the Revell 1:390 scale Air Canada Boeing 747 is an alright kit. It's a fairly fast and easy build. I found this kit enjoyable to make, but it does have a few fit issues and lots of flash and ejection ports to deal with. I wouldn't recommend this kit to a beginner, but for someone who knows the score with older models, this kit would be a breeze to build. This kit only cost me £5 brand new, so to be fair on the kit, for this price you can't grumble about value for money. I think that low-cost kits like this should always have a place on the market, as it allows people to try out something new without the risk of breaking the bank, which is exactly what happened with this model. The keen-eyed may have noticed there are 2 stands and 2 copies of the instructions in the background of this video. This is because this is my second build of this kit. The first time round I tried to use enamel paints and get out of my comfort zone even more, and underestimated the drying time. I got some nasty crinkling because of this, and then melted the model with caustic oven cleaner while trying to remove the paint. I was going to show an image of this melted mess at the end of the video to give everyone a good laugh. However, the bag I used also melted, and handling caustic chemicals is never a wise idea in general, so this is the mess before the melt. Either way though, it's hammered home a lesson about painting with enamels that I won't forget. Don't bother with enamels, stick to acrylics. And yeah, makes a good story to tell. Fishermen have the one that got away, and model makers can have the one that melted. Anyway, as always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and you find it helpful if you're building or thinking of buying one of these kits at home. Until next time though, look after yourselves, and have a good one. Goodbye.